Now I know we're still in the month of April, but this is no April Fool's joke. The thumbnail is correct. The amazing Arc of Attrition, a race close to my heart, is now part of the big money-making UTMB World Series. Who would have thought it when 55 runners, myself included, lined up on the event start line for the first time way back in 2015 that this awesome 100-mile foot race on the coast paths of Cornwall would form part of the biggest trail running series in the world. So let's dive into the video and find out what this means for the fantastic Arc of Attrition. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. And welcome back to a video with a difference. So no actual running today, but I thought it was really important that I pulled together a video sort of giving you my opinions on the news that's just dropped. Now, I dare say a lot of you already heard, but if you haven't, then the UTMB have bought the Arc of Attrition. So in 2025, the Arc of Attrition is going to be the second UK-based race to be part of the UTMB World Trail Series, alongside the Ultra Trail Snowdonia in Wales. Now, I'm sure if you haven't heard, it's come as a bit of a surprise, as it did to me when I first found out, and there's definitely going to be some negative and some positive reactions to this news. So before I give you my thoughts on this situation, I just thought I would tell you a bit more information about the UTMB World Trail Series itself. So currently it's made up of 42 incredible trail and mountain races all over the world. So Oceania, Asia, Europe, Africa and the Americas, and the events tend to have several different distances that you can run, ranging from, sort of 15k all the way up to 100 miles plus. By taking on these World Series events, you can earn yourself running stones, and depending on the distance that you complete depends on the amount of stones you're awarded. So what is the point of running stones? Well, you actually need running stones now to enter any of the main races over UTMB week in Chamonix, whether it's the 50k of the OCC or the CCC, which is 100k, or the big dance, which happens on Friday, the UTMB, which is 104 miles with 10,000 meters of elevation. Those three races are now considered as the sort of world finals for the World UTMB Series. Unfortunately, by doing the series races and gaining stones, it doesn't guarantee you a spot on the start line. All it does is give you the chance to enter the ballot, and the more stones that you collect throughout the year, the better chance you've got of getting your name pulled out of the UTMB hat. Now, it is definitely a difficult thing to achieve, and we know that for sure because Liga has got a spot this year to run the 100k of the CCC. She is super excited. It's going to be an incredible adventure, that's for sure, but it has taken her about 5 years to gain that entry. So UTMB is very popular and severely oversubscribed. So there is a very brief breakdown of what the UTMB World Series actually is. Obviously, I could talk all day about it and go into specific details, but this is a YouTube video, so we want to keep it as short as possible. Anyone new to the channel today may not be aware that these two races, the Arc of Attrition and the UTMB, play a big part in my sort of trail running history, so this announcement was a big deal to me. First of all, I'm based here in Cornwall, down in the UK, where the Arc of Attrition actually takes place, and I've been a big part of the trail running community in this wonderful part of the UK for some time. Like I've already mentioned, I took part in the inaugural race back in 2015, where 55 brave souls lined up in Coverack to take on this amazing winter adventure. We really didn't know what to expect, but it was an incredible day, and since then I've actually taken on the race 5 times in total, some positive, some not so positive, but the race, the atmosphere, the community around the Arc really does hold a special place in my heart, that's for sure. When it comes down to UTMB, it follows a very similar pattern. So I actually first heard about this magical mountain race way back in 2012, when I heard a couple of people at my running club at the time talking about this incredible race in the Alps with 10,000 meters of elevation, 104 miles in distance. You have to run through 3 different countries and you start and finish in the stunning mountain town of Chamonix. It just sounded totally mind-blowing, and all I could think of is, where do I sign up? Where do I sign up? So after hearing that, I did a bit of digging, a bit of research online. I watched lots and lots of race videos on YouTube, and from that day, I knew at some point I was going to take it on. That day actually came in 2015 when myself, Liga, good friend and training partner Steve Wyatt and Michelle packed our bags and headed off to Chamonix to begin our mountain adventure. After 3 years of training hard, racing, gathering points and trying to get in the ballot, we had finally made it. But unfortunately, that first attempt at UTMB didn't go well for myself or for Steve. I actually ended up pulling out at Cornish, which is about 55 miles into the race at one of the major checkpoints. I was severely dehydrated. It was a real hot year, about 35 degrees. And I think I was really struggling with the thin air of the mountains. And, you know, if I'm honest, I probably wasn't prepared enough to take on this mega challenge. But however, I did learn some very valuable and painful lessons that day. Even though it was super disappointing for myself and for Steve not to make it back to that iconic finish line in Chamonix, we had a fantastic trip and we all fell in love with the mountain town and the whole UTMB experience. As I stood there and watched runners and cheered them on to the finish line, I knew that one day I had to come back and give it another go. I also knew I had to be a lot better prepared to take on such a tough race. Another 3 years flew by trying to get back on that iconic start line in Chamonix, and just by chance, myself, Steve and his brother Dave all got picked out of the ballot in 2018. So we packed up the bags and we headed off back to Chamonix. I knew that I wanted to make sure this year would be different, and boy was it different. So myself and Liga actually went out earlier and I spent 10 days training hard in the mountains, up and down steep technical descents. I was feeling way fitter and a lot more confident about the whole thing. So on Friday afternoon at 6 p.m, when that inspirational UTMB start line music fired up, we headed off into the mountains to make another attempt at UTMB, with Liga as our support crew out on the route the whole way. Myself and Steve actually ran the whole race together and we had a fantastic time. No real highs and lows, you know, we just supported each other. We laughed and joked the whole way round the mountains, that whole 104-mile route. And obviously Liga crewing us along the way at the major checkpoints really helped, and we all met up back in Chamonix and we crossed the finish line together. And that was the end of kind of a 6-year journey of trying to get back to Chamonix to soak up the incredible atmosphere of the UTMB finish line, and it was definitely worth all the effort. I will never forget that experience. It was made even more special by the fact that I could still get down on one knee after running all those miles, all that elevation, all those descents. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to propose to my lovely wife, Liga, and even better, she said yes. So you can see why UTMB and Chamonix are very special things to myself and Liga, and we've been going back there ever since, and we're going back again this year, but it's going to be slightly different because it's going to be for Liga's mountain adventure this time round. Anyway, that's enough about my experience with the two races. What do I think about the news, and what do I think this means for the Arc in the future? There is definitely a lot of politics surrounding UTMB and their World Trail Series. I think the involvement of the Ironman brand, the fact that a lot of runners and event organisers think that UTMB are trying to monopolise the trail and ultra racing scene. I can definitely say that I have seen changes in Chamonix at UTMB week over the last few years. You know, the race has got bigger and bigger, the town has got busier and busier, and it does feel a bit more corporate these days. Obviously, when a race is so epic, lots of runners are going to want to take it on and challenge themselves. And UTMB is definitely epic. And I suppose it's no different to any of the sort of marathon world majors. You know, Tokyo, Berlin, New York, London, these very popular races that lots of people want to run. Obviously, when these races become popular, lots of big brands get involved. You know, it's big business. There's lots of money to be made. And I suppose that's no different to any business around the world. And UTMB is definitely a very successful business. There are a few things I don't necessarily agree with. I think the involvement of the Ironman brand is definitely one of them, but there is no denying that UTMB is an absolute spectacle, and the atmosphere over the week is electric and I absolutely love it. And I would never tell anyone not to chase their dreams of getting to Chamonix and taking on one of the races over UTMB week. Up until now, it's been pretty tough to gain stones for the UTMB World Series here in the UK because we only had one race, the UTS in Wales. So we definitely needed some more races in the UK to save us sort of travelling overseas to gain our stones, which is obviously going to cost you more money, but it's also not great when it comes to the carbon footprint. You gain your entry into UTMB through the ballot, then you've got to pay for your entry. You've also got to pay for travelling and accommodation over UTMB week, which, as you can imagine, is pretty expensive in Chamonix, so it all starts to add up. So if we can gain our stones at UK-based races, not only is it going to save us a bit of time, but it's also going to save on money. I've got to be honest, I do have some concerns about the Arc becoming a UTMB World Series race. I really hope it doesn't lose its special atmosphere and the local support, because I personally think it's the great support from the local Cornish trail running community that makes this race so special, especially for runners travelling from upcountry or overseas into the county to take the race on. Without doubt, the race is going to have to grow, and I'm sure entry numbers will increase substantially. There may be even a few more distances added along the way, so I really do hope that the whole thing is managed well by UTMB and it doesn't have a negative effect on local community or on the Cornish coast path itself. I'm really happy to see that Andy, Ferg and Jane are still at the helm of the ship. They're still going to be managing the race because they really have worked hard and built up a fantastic event with the Arc of Attrition over the years, and the race just wouldn't be the same without them. I personally think if everything is managed correctly, this could be a great thing for one of the best ultra marathons in the UK. I also think it could be a great thing for the county of Cornwall. We all know come summer that it gets pretty busy down here with a big influx of holiday makers all seeking out lovely sunshine, tasty pasties and beautiful beaches. However, come winter time, it definitely gets a lot quieter and it can be really tough economically. I mean, some parts of Cornwall in January are literally like a ghost town. So to have this big UTMB race down here in January, attracting lots of runners all over the world, has to be a good thing for tourism, and it should bring in some much needed money in those tougher months. So wrapping up, and apart from a few small reservations, I actually think it's a good move for the Arc of Attrition becoming a UTMB World Series race. I'm really excited to see where UTMB take this iconic race. It's going to be great to see it grow, to see what calibre of athletes come down to take it on. But it's also great that a lot more runners are going to get to experience this stunning coast path, the amazing Arc route, but also experience the incredible Cornish trail running community. But I guess we're going to have to wait until 2025 to find out. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts about this news, guys. Do you think it's a great move, or are you completely against it and you think it's a terrible decision by the organisers of the Arc of Attrition? Get in the comments below and let us know all about it. We've actually got some great content on the channel featuring these iconic races, so UTMB and the Arc of Attrition. So if you do want to find out any more information about them, I'll link those videos in the description below. Speaking of the Arc, we are currently working really hard on this year's race day video. It's been delayed a bit, we are super busy, but these videos do take a lot longer to put together. So I do apologise, keep your eyes peeled, it's coming to the channel soon. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for all the support, it's really appreciated. We'll be back here with some more exciting running content very soon. And as always, stay safe and keep on running.